Get yours.
Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, and staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the Town of Pelham Council to order for Monday, April 4th, 2016. We will begin with the singing of the national anthem, and I would ask all who are able to rise. And I would ask Councillor Papp to please lead us.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Papp. Thank you all.
It's getting there, the same as molasses.
First, we have approval of the agenda. It has been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor King. Be it resolved that the agenda for the April 4th, 2016 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. Are there any amendments or changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is any disclosure by members of council with any conflicts of interest. Do any members have any conflicts of interest that they need to disclose?
Mayor.
Thank you. Can that be so noted that there are no conflicts of interest? Thank you. First, we begin our meeting with some presentations, a presentation in particular, and that's to members of the Pelham Bantam BB Panthers, who were Ontario Minor Hockey Association champions this year. What a great response! Here's an example of some of the pictures of that game, of that championship. And the BB Bantam team has won the 2016 OMHA Championship in front of a jam-packed house at the Pelham Arena. The final score was 5-2, with the Panthers took the series 3-0, which is very impressive. And they defeated the Strathroy Junior Rockets. Pelham celebrated on home ice and received their trophies and the red hats, signifying that they were champions for the season. The CAO asked them to take their red hats off earlier. I think you can put them on and you earn them. So you can put them on in the council chamber. Normally we don't allow hats in the council chamber, but you can put them on because you earn them. So thank you. It's amazing that what you did with this, and for some of you, you've been working at it, and in terms of the team coming together, it was very clear that you came together as a team. And the hometown crowd could see that as you played, that you celebrated everyone's successes, and it's just absolutely commendable. And you really brought a wonderful spirit to our community through your competition. So congratulations to you on behalf of council. I would ask Councillor Junkin, who is the Deputy Mayor, to assist me. I do have certificates that I'd like to present on behalf of council, and we have another little lovely parting gift. After we do that, I'm going to come out down over there. After we do that, I'd like you to come up over here at the front and line up, and then we're going to do some photos, if that's okay. So if Councillor Junkin, you could join me. Yep. One thing I neglected to mention, and it was explained to me that night about the double B level, is that this is the first time in Pelham's history that we've had a success like this at a double B level, so congratulations to you as well. We're going to do this in order, and so Evan McPherson. Congratulations, Evan. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, Give him one of those, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you would just, you're the first, so you have to do this, but if you just line up right there, and your buddies will join you. Mitchell Carmichael.
For you.
Yeah, that's a great job. Very nice.
Very good where you are.
Congratulations.
Josh Glenn. He's ill this evening? That's right. John, you mentioned that already. Sorry about that. Lucas Fast. Lucas, great job.
Congratulations.
He wants to do it. He wants to do a photo. Campbell Veld. Congratulations, Campbell. Great job. Photo with mom and dad, okay? Darian Free. Great job, okay, Darian. Congratulations.
Good job, Dan.
Matthew DiRado. Am I saying that right, Matthew? Congratulations, great job.
Great job. Congratulations.
Tyler D'Angelo. Gentle giant. Congratulations.
Wow, look at the size of that guy.
Mom wants a photo.
He's a big kid. What position does he play? Fence. All right. Yeah, one of mine. All right.
Joey Natal.
Yes.
Mom was streaming all game.
No. I don't cheer at all.
Michael Rossi. Congratulations, Michael. Great job in that.
Congratulations.
Liam Sodke. Captain of the team. Great job. Connor Walton. Good job, Connor. Alex Repar. Now you got your name up there, Alex? Yeah. Great job. That's a good one. Anybody else? Alex? Ethan Myrtle. Good job, Ethan. Congratulations. Nobody wants a picture? Garrett Jackson. Congratulations. Great job, Luca. Brent Lenny. Sister. There you go, Brent. Great job, Luca. Good. And then, of course, the coaching staff as well. So John Carmichael, head coach. Mike Repar, assistant. Brent Mergel, trainer. And Glenn Walton, manager. There he is. Yeah, sure. We also have a certificate for your sponsor that you can give to the sponsor, ES Fox. And obviously, it's important that we acknowledge the sponsors, so you can do that. And then one for the team as well, a little bit of a hard case here for you. So I'll give that to you guys. Thank you very much. How are we going to arrange these photos? Wayne, couple rows. So we want to do a photo. Well, you know what? Let's give them a round of applause, eh? Great job, guys. Standing ovation in the back. So they want to do a couple rows. Somebody take over. A photographer take over.
You know what? Of course, we're gonna have Tullis in the center. And all that kind of arranged. Front row kneeling. Coaches on the ends. There we go. Got the 3 rows. Nice.
Okay, guys. So
Hey, you gotta take a hockey picture. Turn.
yeah.
Tyler, you
That's
need a
it.
few more players down there.
Yep. Could probably use a couple more, another coach on that side too. Yep. I think actually, the 2 guys in front, I think we can actually get one more person on that end. That would be good. And I think, we can actually have you right on there. I think that looks good. Looks good, looks good. This is what happens when you're vertically challenged like me. Okay, everyone here, everyone here, everyone here. Nice, nice smiles. Oh, yeah, nice serious looks, nice serious looks. There we go. I'm good.
Everybody wait until I got my picture. Nobody move until Mrs. McPherson says, yeah.
Page for business. Oh, really?
Still not calling up.
Then they're released to no one else.
So where do they go after this?
They would go midget. This is band. Midget. So they would go to.
Okay, last one. Here we go. One more. Congratulations, you guys. Great job. Congratulations. This is for Josh, if you don't mind taking it. Thanks, parents, as well, for coming. Really appreciate it. Congratulations. You guys transporting them back and forth and being there is moral support, so congratulations to the parents as well.
That's right. If you let up, it's true. They just had a workout. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Marv.
Yep, thank you. You're welcome.
That's great.
What was in the box? So that's always a pleasure, and what a wonderful thing for the community and for them, something that they'll remember for many, many years. So congratulations again to the Pelham Panthers, Double B Bantam OMHA champions. Thank you. Now we'll carry on with our agenda. We do have a delegation. This is by Ivan Roden, who is representing the Ontario Special Olympics School Championship Games. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium here so that we can hear you as you make your presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, for those who don't know me, my name is Ivan Roden. I've been in Pelham now for 15 and a half years. I'm one of the founding members of the Council 13903 Knights of Columbus at St Alexander's and presently hold the position of District Deputy. On the 18th of April, the Special Olympic Scholarship Olympics will be coming to Pelham. It consists of a regular flag that it can be mounted on the pole, plus a secondary flag 4.5 feet wide, 9 feet long for the athletes and the general public to sign. There will also be a guest book because a lot of the signatures on the flag will be unreadable, so it will give the people a chance to print their name in the book so we know who was there, and we will be keeping it. Now, the Olympics were started, these particular Olympics were started in 1968 by a Dr. Hayden, who is a professor in Toronto. Because of the, he found that the children with intellectual disabilities resulted in their exclusion from the kinds of physical activity and sports experience available to other children. Dr. Hayden was a researcher and his work came to the attention of Eunice Kincaid Schreiber and the Kennedy Foundation. The first Olympics were held at the Soldiers Field in Chicago on July the 19th and 20th of 1968, and we are having 6 flags presented through the province. The province is being split up into 6 regions. Each region will have their own flag, and the flag started going around on the 4th of January of this year and will complete its circuit on the 8th of May. We are getting the flag here on the 18th of April, and we will have it until the 24th. Pelham has it for the first day. It's going up at the Catholic School Board on the Tuesday. It's going up at Welland Town Hall on the Wednesday and the Niagara College on the Thursday. On the Friday, it's being picked up at St. Alexander's. It's going down by a group called Knights on Bikes. There are Knights of Columbus and they are motorbikes. The flag will be flying from the lead bike. There will be 3 other bikes with it. And as far as I've been informed, we will be having a police escort taking it from here down to Port Colborne. When it comes back from Port Colborne, it will be on display in St. Alexander's for the weekend. And then after that, we return it over to Niagara Falls, and they will have it then until the 8th of May. I think basically that is it. Mr. Mayor did suggest that maybe we do the same as Pelham, Welland, and proclaim the 8th of April as being the Pelham, Ontario Special Olympic Day. So that's my presentation, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roden, for your presentation. Just a sec, if there may be some questions. I think it was the 18th of April, not the 8th, so 18th of April. Any questions for Mr. Roden? Certainly, it's a very important cause. Thank you very much. So I do have a motion. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham declare Monday, April 18th, 2016 as Special Olympics Day in Pelham, and that the Special Olympics flag be flown at Pelham Town Hall on that day. Any discussion to that motion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. That will occur. So thank you very much for your presentation. We look forward to seeing you on the 18th in the morning, and we'll invite the community there, and we can fly that flag very proudly on the 18th. Thank you very much, Mr. Roden, for your presentation and for your work with the Special Olympics. Thank you. We have another report. It's by Regional Councillor Brian Beatty. Thank you very much for joining us, Councillor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council and staff. Let's give you a little bit of a, I think, humorous anecdote here. What had happened up until recently is that the region's clerk office would put all of the summaries of the various standing committees in a package. And I would use that, it'd be about 9 or 10 pages to summarize down for the 1.5 page report for you. Unfortunately, I found out last Wednesday that they ceased doing that, and it was scattered throughout. So I did an awful lot of hunting and so on. So I have to bring to your attention, I find it humorous. I didn't mean in the first item the amalgamation with local municipalities in terms of one government. That was not the case. It's looking at the various insurance policies to see if we collectively can get basically a bigger bang for the buck. And I think that's going to basically be done over the next 2 cycles, which means the next month and a half in investigation. So it may be of advantage to this council as well as the other 12 councils in terms of Niagara. The second comment that I'd like to make is with regard to planning and development. The first one is the Niagara Investment in Culture Program. We've had some very spirited discussion and debate about whether or not local municipalities should or should not be included as a funding partner in terms of that process. Some people believing that local municipalities should fund their own culture, etc. The prevailing argument, which I supported, was the fact that very often it's local municipalities in conjunction with individuals and small groups and not-for-profits that in cooperation come together. They may use the facilities such as a library or a museum or whatever in terms of helping that nonprofit group come forward. That won the day, that local municipalities in partnership with other groups and not-for-profits will continue to be able to make application to that fund. And the last thing I wish to bring to your attention is the statement on Regional Council that was quite a good presentation, I felt, in terms of the processes going on with regard to the long-term care homes. There are 3 homes that currently aren't meeting the architectural standards. That's Lynnhaven in St. Catharines. It's the home in Niagara-on-the-Lake as well as the home in Fort Erie. And what the group is looking at is basically the concept of a private-public partnership, but looking at homes that basically are multifaceted in nature. Very similar to what we see in our town in the private sector in terms of that you may have some independent living, you may have some semi-independent living, you may have some assisted living, and then some long-term care, and in Grimsby they even have the point of palliative care on the same campus. So they're looking at that kind of model of having a range of services, which I think it makes an awful lot of sense for people who are aging not to go through the confusion and the disruption of moving from one place to another as their needs change over time. So that, Mr. Mayor, is my report, but I'm more than willing to answer questions related to other items on that report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for your report. Do any members of council have any questions for Councillor Beatty? I see Councillor Durley and then Councillor Ribbiak. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see under reports that were received for information, a statement of remuneration and expenses for members of council and council's appointees.
Yes.
I wonder if you could provide a copy of that. I would be very interested to see that.
Well, certainly.
Okay.
Certainly, yes.
You can send it electronically or in my mail slot. That would be appreciated.
We'll distribute it to all of council. Yes.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Beatty. Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your report, Councillor Beatty. I'm glad you clarified with respect to insurance. So there was a couple of items here that I had question marks on, and that was certainly one of them. So thank you for that. I had a question with regard to under Corporate Services Committee, your second bullet. Year-end results and transfer report was approved as amended with reserve transfers of 1.882 million from reserves and 3.393 million from the levy and 5.089 million from the rate programs. Do you want to just expand on that a little bit? I don't really understand it.
Okay. It's an ongoing discussion, debate at council as to when we do our budget process. We do it long before the fall term in terms of getting it done early for good reason to get the capital projects out for early tender, hopefully saving money and getting a better bang for the buck. The fact is we don't have our actuals at that point in time by doing it so early. And these funds are in fact the results of the actuals in the various categories, and they basically are put back in term and act as reserves. They're not gone, they're basically there, and most of the funds are put back into the area which is called Taxpayer Relief Fund, which basically has the potential of softening the impact of the taxation rate for the year ahead.
So
And-
just to build
And
on that.
they are large amounts. It's been noted by many councillors that we need to do a better job at doing the forecasting to try and ensure that those numbers are smaller as the year end comes forward.
Just to build on what Councillor Beatty said, those numbers or that report is similar to the report that our treasurer brings to council about the year-end surplus, should there be any. And you know, we can't budget for a deficit at either level of government, so there's always usually just a little bit of a surplus there. So that's what that report is similar. The final piece I'd add to that is, and it's parlance at the region perhaps, and it may not be parlance here or something that we're used to here at this council, is that they do differentiate between rate and levy. So a rate program would be waste management, water and sewer treatment, whereas the levy would be anything that would be on the tax levy. So I hope that helps as well.
It does. I guess what this is a description and a calculation of the difference between what was budgeted and was actually spent, and this is an indication of where that came from.
Yes.
And where does it all go? Into reserves, I guess.
And it depends on reserves. As mentioned, the rate is left for the rate because of the significant cost, capital cost, in terms of replenishing, whether it's waste management or sewers or water pipes, et cetera,
Right, so it goes into reserves.
for those specific items. And that from the levy, it goes into the taxpayer relief fund, which basically is a cushion to soften the tax impact if necessary for the next year.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for that. That clarified it.
Okay.
Thank you.
The region's budget is about $1 billion, so a surplus of, what is that, about 8-9 million, so,
Yeah, not big. Yep.
okay, thank you. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Councillor Beatty, I notice under Regional Council, your second bullet, it talks about a motion to support the promotion of 5 scenic drives.
Yes.
And this is the first, I think, most of us have heard about that. Where are the drives, and were local municipalities consulted when they were put together?
The motion was initiated by a counselor, Counselor Timms specifically. It's for a report that was already underway. We just wanted to bring attention to that. There are things like the Grape Route, okay, the Greenbelt Route, the Niagara Parkway. There'll be routes that you recognize. I had concerns about it at the beginning because it didn't say scenic drives. It said trails and so on. And I thought that they had not counted a number of things, including our own Steve Bauer Trail. But it's meant to recognize the scenic drive trails that are in Niagara as part of the overall tourism strategy. To bring people to Niagara and not only to come to one part of Niagara, i.e. Niagara Falls, but to explore further through the scenic drives that are available.
And we didn't actually approve it, we ran out of time, we got bounced up against our curfew, so it's still,
Your memory and mine are different on that one. That one I thought we got through, but we didn't get Councilor Nunziata's motion through.
I didn't think we got either one through, so
We'll check our record.
check.
We
That's
did-
what
we
happens when you have
hit
late night
curfew.
meetings, we can share that with council as well. I think he introduced it, but we didn't vote on it.
Just as a follow-up to that, I mean, Pelham has some very beautiful scenery and very beautiful areas, and if in fact we're looking to develop new routes, some consideration should be brought to the table for promoting Pelham as a tourism
Right.
destination and agro-tourism and the beauty that we have in the park areas and the Short Hills area, et cetera, et cetera.
I had a list of 10 available, but when I found out it was scenic only, it didn't include the walking trail, didn't include Bruce Trail, for example.
Right.
And so on. So yes, I agree with you. There's more than just that, but it's the broader issue. And again, this was not meant to be anything new. There's no new dollars attached, et cetera. It's just that it wasn't currently specified in terms of the document that Mr. Merritt is working on for the tourism strategy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Councillor Beatty? Just to build on one of the items that you raised, and this is regarding the culture funding, we did approve some funding for Pelham for Thursday nights at the Pelham Markets. So that was in the $5,000 for that. So we'll look forward to receiving that from the region that's promoting culture in our own community. So thank you.
I was very pleased, by the way, in total, to see the reaction by the good majority of councillors was that we're working in partnership with the local municipalities. So what we're trying to say is a them and us kind of situation. And I look at our own Thursday night activities, what happens here, we're serving the region. We're serving the town of Pelham, but we are certainly well servicing all of the region, as we do with Pelham Summerfest, et cetera. So that was the prevailing view when the vote came forward on this topic.
Good. Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty. Going to call the question on, so it's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Junkin. Be it resolved that the March 24th, 2016 report submitted by Regional Councillor Beatty be received for information. I think as amended, you made that, there's a small change.
No, just clarification, the word
clarification.
amalgamation was not meant to be anything other than the insurance plans.
Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks again, Councillor, and we'll see you at Council. Thank you. The now we move to adoption of minutes. It's been moved by Councillor Junkin, second by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. minutes of the regular meeting of council of March 21st, 2016. Are there any errors or omissions? There being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we move to consent agenda items to be considered in block. Are there any items that councillors would like to consider separately and lift for separate consideration? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to lift item 10.3.3, PCC approval.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, any other items? Councillor Durley?
Yes, item 10.5.1, the motion from Richmond Hill.
Councillor Junkin?
Yes, 10.2.4.
Okay, the project manager, which one's this? 10.2.4?
Yes,
The project manager
Yes.
presentation?
yes.
Okay. Thank you. I think in that case, those form part of the minutes. But we'll lift them and deal with, you want to have a motion with that? I'm a bit confused.
Oh, no, I just, I thought they were in the consent,
They are.
Consent.
yeah. And I just wanted to have discussion on.
Okay. Okay, so are you proposing a separate motion? The motion is to receive them, they were formed part of the minutes. If you want to have a different motion than that, then you lift them. If it's just to discuss them, you can.
No, I just wanted to discuss.
Okay, so we'll take note of that, and I can turn to you first. So that won't be lifted, okay? As far as I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Junkin. Be it received, the following consent agenda items be received, and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. Recommendations arising from the Policy and Priorities Committee of March 21st, 2016, and the Special Committee of the Whole of March 22nd, 2016. And the motion, be it resolved that the recommendations arising from the Policy and Priorities Committee of March 21st and the Special Committee of the Whole of March 22nd be received and approved. Then we have the minutes of those various committees. We have the minutes from the Policies and Priorities Committee of March 21st, the Special Committee of the Whole of March 22nd. And then included in that, I asked the clerk to separate these items out. Because they weren't there as part of the agenda, that I asked the clerk to include them as part of the minutes of the meeting so that they can be there for people to see as well. And they include my opening remarks from March 22nd, the financial overview presentation, the project manager presentation, and the architect's presentation, and those were all occurring at that special meeting. Then we have staff reports, and the motion is simply to receive. Then we have staff reports of routine nature for information or action. We have the regarding the Council Drinking Water Summary Report. Be it resolved, the Council receive the issue summary report, Council Drinking Water Summary Report for information. The Council accepts the report as it relates to the Town of Pelham Drinking Water Distribution System, January 1st to December 31st, 2015, and that staff be directed to organize standard of care training for Council. We also have the a report on the 2016 consolidated user fees and charges, and their motion, be it resolved, the Council approve the 2016 consolidated schedule for user fees and charges. The Pelham Community Center approval has been lifted for separate consideration. So we do have action correspondence of a routine nature. One item, it's Royal Canadian Legion Branch 613 request, and the motion is, be it resolved, the Council receive the correspondence dated March 12th of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 613, and that they request that the town donate the use of the Pelham Arena facilities for the Cadet Corps annual review ceremony on Saturday, May 28th, 2016, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. be approved in principle, subject to existing bookings for the facility, conditional that written documentation be provided to the Recreation, Culture, and Wellness Department, and all necessary insurance and applicable permits have been obtained, and the staff be directed to coordinate the use of the facility with existing user groups. We have information correspondence items. One has been lifted, that's from Richmond Hill, but the other is from the City of Port Colborne, making notice that they supported our resolution from this town. And finally, we have some committee minutes for information. the Library Board minutes of February 24th, the Pelham Active Transportation Committee minutes of February 25th, and the Summerfest Committee minutes of March 23rd. Councillor Junkin, you asked and wanted to speak on one of the items, so that was the financial, was it the financial overview? No, the project manager
Project
presentation.
manager presentation,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, so in overlooking, in looking through the project manager's estimates and what have you, I don't see any itemization of the external interlocking brick that will be going around the outside of the structure. So am I correct to assume that that's on, that is separate from the 36.2 million estimate?
Mr. CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer the councilor's question, that is correct. It is a separate item. The landscaping for the Wooner from the square are a separate project, and they'll be dealt with under a separate budget, more than likely in 2017 or 2018. Those numbers will come to council for specific approval.
Thank you. Councillor?
Okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to any of the other items on the consent agenda? Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Was there some question with regard to the fees? Were we going to take some separate action with regard to those? There was some question, I think.
Thank you. I did.
Have you clarified?
I did have a question from a member of the public that was here earlier about the fees and charges. He represents one of the users groups. It wasn't the group that was here earlier, and asked that I think he has a meeting coming up with staff on that. It's regarding Pelham Soccer, Minor Soccer Association, and the fees that are being charged. It's really, I think, during the bylaw that we would consider that, and he asked that we perhaps maybe defer that for 2 weeks before we approve the bylaw.
Fair enough.
So I think it would be under the bylaw section. So I would ask that councillors may consider that when we consider the bylaws later this evening. We might put that one off for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for asking. Anything else under the consent agenda? There being called a question, all those, I'm sorry, Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief comment.
Right.
Perhaps we could ask staff, if in fact we approve the Branch 613 request for the use of the arena, that they be directed in future to apply during the permissive grant process. It helps council understand the consolidated cost of all the permissive giveaways that we have. I'm certainly supportive. It's a great organization, but I think we need to try and consolidate that as thoroughly as possible. So,
Okay.
just
Thank
a
you.
comment.
Yeah, thank you. I think staff have heard that, and that's something that we can encourage. Here goes one of those, as I think those phrases, I think it's always been done that way, and that's why they continue to do it that way, but it's a good point. So thank you very much for raising it, and I'm sure the treasurer is taking note of that, so thank you. Is there anything, you didn't want a response, did you, Councillor?
No,
Okay.
that's fine. Thank
Anything
you.
further under consent? Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. And now we move to item 10.3.3 on your agenda regarding the Pelham Community Center approval. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This concept paper brings council up to date on some revelations that were important for us to understand and to consider in conjunction with the reports we received on the 22nd of March. And basically, it advises council, as you're all aware, that should we defer at least directing staff to proceed with some critical preparation for tendering and what have you, we run the risk of missing the entire construction season this year, or at the very least incurring additional costs to apply winter heat for the pouring of concrete, et cetera. So in light of that, and in consideration of the recommendation or the solution that was put forward in the concept paper, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the solution proposed in the concept paper basically be converted to a motion. Basically, it would say that based on all previous work up to and including the information presented on March 22nd, council approves the project in principle. Secondly, that council would provide approval for the tendering of the electrical mechanical component of the project with the proviso that the final award would be dependent on council approval after the design build component is fleshed out and we have some costing that would be brought back to council. And thirdly, that we would set a date to make a final determination on whether we proceed with the PCC or not. And I would propose that that date would be April 25th. I have some questions around the structure of that meeting, Mr. Mayor, but I would put to my council colleagues that Councillor Junkin raised at a previous meeting that he would like a direct discourse between the public and council, and I think that we should give some consideration to having that discourse take place on the April 25th meeting, where delegations could in fact present to council to both on the plus side and the negative side, that the public has one last opportunity to provide us with some feedback. In addition, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also build into the motion that we would direct staff to prepare a comprehensive report to be brought forward at that meeting, namely the 25th, that would include the preparation of all documents necessary to move the project to a go, and that council would have an opportunity to peruse these documentations, such as the borrowing bylaw, et cetera, so that we'd be prepared to move forward on the 25th. In fact, we decide that that's the appropriate action to take.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Did you get that last piece? Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ribbiak? Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure that we captured the last piece. Madam Clerk, can you read that back?
Certainly that the staff be directed to prepare a comprehensive report to the meeting on April 25th that will include preparation of all documents to move the project to a go, and that council have an opportunity to peruse these documents, such as the borrowing bylaw, so that a decision on the 25th can be facilitated.
Okay, does that capture?
That
Councillor?
captures it.
Okay,
Thank you.
and Councillor? Second, okay, thank you. Anything further to that, Councillor? And then I see others that may want to.
I have a lot of justification for my actions, but I will defer to my colleagues. I do have a question that I would like, as I raised in the motion, when making the motion, that I'd like to direct at the Madam Clerk so that she could advise council how we might structure that meeting such that it could be run in an orderly manner and that all sides would have a fair opportunity to be heard, and yet we could still move forward with the business at hand.
Okay, thank you. So before the clerk answers that, I'm going to ask her to answer that. And I just want to recap the motion. So the motion is that there's really four sections. The first is that council approves the construction of the community center in principle. The second piece is that council approves the tendering of the electrical and mechanical component of the project with the proviso that the final award will be dependent on council approval. So it's a going out of that tendering and not an approval of the tendering. That council selects the date of Monday, April 25th, 2016, to make the final determination on whether or not the Pelham Community Center will move to the construction phase. And then the fourth piece, and that was all in the concept paper, the fourth piece that you've added is that you direct staff for to develop a compendium report and all of the preparation documents so that council can consider it on the 25th of April. Okay? And I'm going to ask the clerk to just comment and answer the councilor's question on what that meeting could look like. And then we'll open it up.
Certainly through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be a special meeting of council to facilitate that public meeting format, and I would recommend that it be held at a venue other than council chambers to ensure that we have sufficient space for folks to attend. We would define the purpose of the meeting and give proper notice of the meeting, because it wouldn't be a regular meeting, a regular meeting date. Provide an opportunity to encourage people to submit comments prior to the meeting, and we could include those as part of the agenda, or to register to speak, either for or against the project. But also council, of course, has the ability to allow speakers from the floor, and that would then be followed by council's consideration of any reports that are presented as part of the agenda on the matter, and any applicable bylaws as well. So essentially, the agenda would look like a call to order with a review of written submissions, a call for delegations who have pre-registered to speak, and a call for delegations from the floor, following which you could close the public meeting portion, allow discussion with the council, and consider the comprehensive report that is envisioned in the motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Further question, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, are we governed at that special meeting by our normal process, or where we allow delegations 10 minutes, or because it's a special call, could we have the delegations limited to lesser times, that sort of thing?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly you could provide in the notice that delegations will be limited to a certain length of time. The 10-minute delegation is part of a regular council meeting, which is outlined in our procedural bylaw. So you can make those special provisions for a special meeting.
Similarly, I believe in our procedure bylaw, there is some limitation on repetitious presentations. So, for example, we don't need 50 hockey moms standing up at the podium telling us how wonderful it would be to have a twin rink, but similarly, we don't need 50 taxpayers standing there and telling us how they don't want their taxes going up. So how would we manage that so that we still have an efficient meeting and yet still are willing to listen to the presentations?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, does the procedure bylaw give any insight into the councillor's question? Or is that something that we would manage under sort of agenda management, I'll call it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, of course, that would be managed by the presiding officer, the chair, and in this case, if it's a special council meeting, that would be the mayor. We could certainly encourage people through the notice to have a spokesperson represent groups. That lends itself to an effective meeting as well. So if council so wishes, we can do that.
Thank you. Councillor?
I don't know whether this is in order then, and given all of the information that I received, then could we include in the motion that delegations be limited to 5 minutes or less in terms of presentations?
Let's, you've already put a motion on the floor, now you're moving an amendment, so what I would recommend is that maybe let's hear from colleagues about that, and then if council wants to move that amendment, council can do so.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yep, no
Thank
problem.
you. So I had, Councillor Junkin, do you want to speak at this time, or do you want to speak, you indicated?
No, I'll speak now.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll have to speak against this motion. I think that this thing, calling it a dramatic timeline, or the fact that it's a critical timeline, I think that's being rather dramatic at this stage of the game. I don't believe it matters one way or the other, whether we go in 3 weeks or whether we go in 6 weeks, whether we decide this. I think it's very presumptuous of this council to move forward without further public meetings, I can't even remember one that we've had. Perhaps that one, if we counted at the fire hall, that was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. To put this kind of a project forward and not have public consultations like we haven't had in the past, I think it should be, this whole thing should just rest until we have the open houses. And then I agree with Mr. Accursi that we should have the special meeting on the 25th. Again, I wouldn't like to see, if we have 50 people that want to come up and speak and they want to speak on the same thing, if we allow them a 1-minute talk, I think that I can't believe that we're going to restrict the residents to come up and have their say. So yeah, again, I can't support this motion. I just don't think, I've read all these letters in the local paper. These people are angry. they feel like they've been not involved in this consideration at all, this project. And I think it's the least we can do is give them a voice without any strings attached.
Okay, thank you. So just for clarity, the last piece about the timing for delegations is not included, so
Okay.
I think the procedure bylaw would be 10-minute maximum, so just further to that. I apologize for clarifying that for you,
Okay,
but that's
thank you.
just the case. Is there anything further,
No,
Councillor?
that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Other councillors? Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's really for clarity that I want to express what I believe this motion is all about. The first part of that, as you say, is that we approve in principle this motion this evening. My understanding of an approval in principle is really a polling of council to determine where the will of council is based on the information that we have as of today, mostly based, I guess, at this point on the very comprehensive reports that we received on March 22nd. And in that regard, I think I'm quite happy to let council know in a motion of agreement in principle, certainly where I stand on this thing, and I suspect that other councillors would feel the same. This is not an approval of the project in any final form, at least as I understand it. This is just an indication of where I and our colleagues with me indicate where we are right now, subject to, excuse me, other information or other developments as we proceed toward, I think the date is April 25th, that you indicated in the the third part of the motion. The second part of the motion is with regard to specific work that needs to get done in order for us to avoid construction or delays in the construction schedule or any changes to the financial picture that's there. And to date, over the last number of years, we have acted compliantly with the principle that we should get work done. As we approve every level, we keep going to the next one. So this doesn't strike me as being anything different than what we have been doing up until now, just making sure that we're getting the ducks in a row, so that in the event that we go ahead with the final decision, everything is there. So I'm quite happy with that part of it. I think the April 25th date is a good date. First of all, it's not a regular council meeting date, so that gives us all night, if necessary, to talk about it. I'm not sure that it's necessary to talk now about having to limit presentations. I suspect that, as Councillor Junkins pointed out, there are people who have things that they want to say. But it is after, and I do want to indicate my understanding that it is after the public meetings, which are slated for the 16th, and there are two of them, and they are in fairly large locations, so there should be ample opportunity for those who are interested to come forward, see the project, apprise themselves of the content of that, and prepare themselves to make presentations either in supportive or not with regard to that. We had indicated from the outset that we would give 4 to 6 weeks of opportunity, and it certainly fits within that timeline, so I'm quite happy with that part of it as well. With regard to the fourth part, the only thing I would suggest is that we do indeed find a facility large enough to accommodate the number of people who may be interested in making a presentation. So unless I've got any part of that wrong, those are my positions with regard to that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other councillors? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to make it clear that the April 16th is not going to be a public meeting, it's an open house.
Yeah.
There is a big difference there, and in fact, a lot of information for people who do have questions and haven't come forward to ask these questions in the past, and there have been, I think we have been quite open, and all of the information that we have discerned certainly supports the decision, I think, that is going to be discussed. However, the open house will certainly provide answers to questions that people may have, and I encourage everybody who has questions, rather than come to a public meeting and ask questions there, come to the open house and get the answers, because the experts are going to be there. This is an excellent opportunity to get the information that you want to get. All the experts will be there, all the questions will be there, all the numbers will be there to be answered. So I feel that's very important. The 25th should not be very much of a meeting, in fact, from the public input, because if in fact all the answers are given on the 16th, there shouldn't be many questions to follow up on. So, again, that is my opinion on that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durley. Other members of council? Councillor Papp.
Well, Councillor Ribbiak, you hit all the highlights, and in out of respect for Councillor Junkin as well, let me add another observation on this. By approving this in principle, you sent a message to upper tier levels of government too, as well. And people need to be clear on that. I have been involved in other projects where this has been the process, then they know that you are serious. If we keep, with all due respect, I know we can take our time, and I agree, but there's a window of opportunity here as well. And there's extensive lobbying going on right now, both at the federal and it will happen at provincial. This message will give us a chance to at least say to our elected representatives at those levels, we are serious, we're pursuing funding, we want to move ahead with the project. So that's how I look at it. And then when the final determination is made, then that'll also get us ready, and for them to say to them, if in fact they're, how should I say, very interested in the project, to access that kind of money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other councillors? Councillor King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am happy to support this motion. I think it's been a very long process to reach this point. And at this point, I think that we have addressed the major concerns that our constituents have had over the recent months, specifically with respect to finance and some of the points of the community center itself, and specifically to the arena. I'm glad to see that it's going to be held similar to a public meeting. That's very structured, but it does give everybody the opportunity to speak, sort of as a last resolve before a final decision is made. So I'm happy with the date of April the 25th as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say a few words about the motion as well. I am in favor as well, and I appreciate certainly staff putting the report together, and Councillor Kersey moving that with the additional information about the report on that day and the appropriate documents. I think it's important that Council does, just to build on what Councillor Papp indicated, I think it's important that Council does approve this in principle. Because this is something that we've been working on for years and years and years. And the approach that we've taken, especially over the last 4 years, has been to do the work, to look at the business case, to develop the pro forma, to design the facility, to work with the community on this. And by saying this evening that we approve it in principle is really saying that we approve the work that's already gone on. But it also gives the opportunity for individuals to, as Councillor Durley indicated, attend the open houses on the 16th of April, check out the website with all the information, go to the various, the library and town hall here, etc., and hear about it at other venues as well, and consider that information. At the same time, we want to hear the input from the community. We also want to make sure that we don't lose a season, as Councillor Kersey pointed out, and as this concept paper talks about. We heard it from the construction manager on March 22nd about the timelines that they were dealing with. And it's important for us to continue to move the project forward. It's also important because we've said to upper levels of government, the federal, provincial representatives, I've said to them that we are investment ready, which is the new language for shovel ready, and that council's considering it. And so it does, by approving in principle, also adds to that and builds on the work that we've done. It can give that indication. So for example, last week I had a discussion with Minister Bradley and indicated where we are in the process, and we'll continue to work with representatives, local representatives, on where we are with the process. The financial plan although it doesn't specifically state that, obviously, we are still going to try to get those funding dollars from upper levels of government. And I've indicated that to the representatives. In terms of the timeline, I started in on that and suggesting that we do need to start the tender for the electrical and mechanical component of the work so that that can continue to move on. That's a little bit different perhaps than what was anticipated in the fall, and the reason is, and the construction manager pointed this out, and I think to Councillor Ribbiak on March 22nd, the reason that they're suggesting that we do a request for a design build on the electrical and mechanical is so that that component can be segregated and worked on separately, and it ensures that there aren't any surprises, or helps ensure that there aren't any surprises in the future. So that's a bit of a change, but that's why council is doing that, and that is outlined here as well, and that was explained by the construction manager. And then in terms of the other, this has been raised at the council table, that giving folks the opportunity to give council some feedback and setting aside, as others have said, a special date to do so. This project has been a team effort and many, many years in the making, and it's important to continue to move this project along while at the same time listening to residents from our community with the plan that was presented to them on March 22nd. And again, to reiterate what Councillor Ribbiak said, that March 22nd date, now this being on the 25th, that will allow a full month for members of the community to provide feedback to council. So I am very supportive as well. Any other comments from members of council? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't speak to the body of the motion. I think everyone knows where I stand. I would like to address some comments from Councillor Junkin and perhaps to clarify my position regarding the questions that I asked about delegations and limiting the time. Firstly, Councillor Junkin, my proposal to have a specially called council meeting on the 25th and to include the public delegations was in respect to you putting forward the motion that you did a couple of meetings ago, and to honor your request, and we said that we would consider it, and I felt that it appropriate after consideration that we do that. So that's number one. Number two, my questions regarding the limitation of the delegation time was in no way meant to muzzle or limit the input that we would receive from the public. In fact, it was in anticipation of the number of delegations that we might in fact receive. And so to allow more delegations the opportunity to speak, it sometimes becomes necessary to limit the amount of time that they can speak so that we can run an efficient meeting and not be here until 4 o'clock in the morning. Thirdly, under normal circumstances, our procedure bylaw limits the number of delegations that we can have at any particular meeting, and so that's why I raised the questions with respect to the procedure bylaw. So I don't want to be slammed in the press of trying to muzzle the public or to limit transparency. That was not my intent. It never has been my intent. And this council has always stood for transparency and openness and conduct business in the public sphere. So, Mr. Mayor, I did want the opportunity to clarify that, and I hope that that does clarify my position both to my colleagues, to Councillor Junkin, and to the public.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor, for your comments. Any other councillors would like to respond to the motion? Okay. I do want to just ask the clerk, and we have had meetings similar to this in the past on various issues. If this is approved, I presume that you'll advertise and outline how individuals might make presentation to council, both in written form and so what would that look like if you were to advertise, if this gets approved?
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Of course, I'll work with our marketing and communications specialist in-house, but we will certainly get the message out through all of the appropriate means to ensure the public is aware of the format of the meeting and the date and the time and the place. We do have a notification policy, so I will certainly be following that policy and use as many mechanisms as we have available to us to get the message out.
Okay, thank you very much. In addition, I would ask staff to get the information about the meeting. This is the last portion of the motion for the compendium report and the preparation of documents, to get that out for council's consideration and the public as soon as possible. I would imagine something like, the reason I say that is because normally information for a council meeting on a Monday isn't available till the Friday. But when it comes to things like the budget, we often do it sort of the week before. So perhaps maybe after the meeting of the 18th, the next morning, something like that, that information can go out and that can be available for people to consider as they draft their letters or their presentations to council. I think that'd be helpful to get that information out. So, Mr. CEO, can that be achieved as well if this is approved?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything further from members of, from council? So are you ready for calling the question? I will call the question on the motion. All those.
Mr. Mayor, can we have a recorded vote, please?
Yes, you can. Thank you very much, Councillor. I would ask the clerk to undertake a recorded vote.
Just a point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Was there not an amendment to that? So should we be voting on the amendment and then the motion is amended?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there an amendment to the motion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the motion was put by Councillor Kersey and seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. That based on the information presented on March 22nd, Council approves the construction of the Pelham Community Centre in principle. That Council approves the tendering of the electrical and mechanical component of the project with the proviso that the final award be dependent on Council approval. The Council selects a date of April 25th to make the final determination on whether or not the Pelham Community Centre will move to a construction phase, and that staff be directed to prepare a comprehensive report to bring to that meeting. That will include preparation of all documents to move the project to a go, and that council have an opportunity to peruse these documents, such as a borrowing bylaw, so that a decision can be made on the 25th, facilitated that way.
So I think, Councillor, the motion was put together in that block and there was no amendment. The Councillor did consider another amendment in terms of the timing, but did not put that on the floor.
My understanding is that the format of this will be a public meeting, which in fact is not part of the original motion.
Madam Clerk?
Through Mr. Mayor, that wasn't part of the concept paper presented by the CAO, but that was part of the original motion as put by the councillor.
So it's not an amendment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, could you undertake the recorded vote, please?
So I will call for the vote in alphabetical order by surname. Councillor Kersey.
Support.
Councillor Durley.
In favor?
Councillor Junkin.
Nay.
Councillor King.
In favor.
Councillor Papp.
In favor.
Councillor Ribbiak.
In favor.
Mayor Augustine.
In favor.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much. The motion has carried, so we look forward to that meeting coming up and this proceeding, and as indicated, the clerk will work with other staff to publicize the meeting. And as Councillor Durley indicated as well, we would encourage all members of the public as well to attend as many as possible, to attend the open houses that will be occurring on April 16th. Thank you very much. There was another item that was lifted. We're still under consent agenda to bring you back to the agenda that we have this evening, and that was under the Richmond Hill resolution. Councillor Durley, are you prepared to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
At our last meeting, we supported and endorsed a resolution from the City of Markham regarding reviewing the powers of the OMB. This builds on that, and apparently the Richmond Hill resolution was that they request the Government of Ontario to thoroughly review the land use appeals process and develop a process of such appeals that recognizes and supports the rights of municipalities. And again, this is the power of the municipality is taken away sometime from the OMB. I don't think that's right, and there's a growing feeling amongst people in this province that agree that it's not right. So I would like to make a motion to support and endorse this in order that more voices can be heard and let the province listen that they need to do something about the OMB.
Okay, thank you very much. So your motion is to receive this letter and to support and endorse. Thank you very much. That communication item 10.51 be received and the resolution contained therein passed by the Council of Richmond Hill regarding the OMB review land use appeals process be endorsed and supported, and the resolution be forwarded to the parties outlined in therein, local MPPs, and the town of Richmond Hill. And that's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor King. Is there any further discussion on this? We'll say thank you, Councillor Durley, for continuing to raise this to our attention. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. I believe those are all the items for consent agenda. Now we move to, thank you, now we move to the remainder of the agenda. The next item is the report, my report. A couple of items I'd like to highlight for members of council. I want to thank Councillor Papp and members of staff for being at the Southern Mayor's Luncheon, which occurred on the 22nd of March and was organized by the Chambers of Commerce of Pelham, Welland, Port Colborne, Waynflete, Fort Erie, and Niagara Falls. And this is the 8th time that the Southern Mayors have got together to talk about various important issues in our community, and there were more than 200 attendees. So at that point, I shared Pelham's significant improvements since the last lunch and plans for 2016. Very pleased to attend, along with Councillor King, the 12th annual Easter Extravaganza, which was held at the arena on Hay Street on the 26th of April. Very, very pleased to work with members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council and thank them and staff for setting up, and members of the fire service as well for being there. The number I had was that there were more than 700 children and families attending the Easter egg hunt, and it was a great day. Got some interesting feedback from members of the community saying that they really, really liked this approach. Other communities have golf balls or things that you pick up, take them in, and everybody, regardless of how many they have, get the same item. And I guess we're a little bit different here. It's you pick it right off the ground. So people seem to like that, and it was a wonderful morning. Special thanks to Enbridge Gas for barbecuing and the money supporting the 613 Army Cadets and their trip to Vimy Ridge. My understanding is they left today, so we wish them all the best with that. Thanks again to the members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council and all of the town staff for organizing that event. Along with Councillor Papp and Councillor Durley, very pleased to attend the bandshell launch, which was held last week on the 31st of March, along with some Pelham staff there. An exciting lineup that they have for the bandshell concert series this year. Really, really from, I think they said coast to coast to coast. So there is a video on their website, and I encourage you to take a look at that video. It'll get you very excited about the summer, especially important today that we have all the snow, but also very, very enthused about their plans for the concert series, and they have an exciting act for Summerfest as well. So looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful season. And finally, very pleased this morning to raise a flag along with Alex, a representative from the Niagara chapter of autism, and Jesse, our member of our staff, raise a flag to help raise awareness for autism. It's as part of World Autism Day, and following Council's proclamation policy. So you would have seen the flag flying at Town Hall today in support of World Autism Day and raising awareness about autism. So thank you very much for the Niagara chapter for assisting with that, and we wish them all the best in their work. That is my report. It's been moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Kersey. Be it resolved, the Council receive my report for April 4th, 2016 for information. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we have consideration of bylaws. There was an item that we have been asked to defer until next meeting so that a member of the community can have a conversation with staff, and that's regarding soccer. So I would ask that we hold off on bylaw 3728. Madam Clerk, what's the best way to do with that? Put the motion on the floor and then ask a member to move deferral? Or
Yes.
postponement, I guess?
Yes, you could divide the motion and just lift that one separately, consider the rest in block, and then make a motion to defer.
Okay.
Refer that one back to staff.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that. So we'll do that. It's moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass, and that the mayor clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 1, being a bylaw 3727, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3578, confirming various appointments to boards, commissions, and committees of the Town of Pelham, and to appoint members to the Pelham Summerfest Committee. Being bylaw 3728, being a bylaw to establish fees and charges to be collected by the corporation of the Town of Pelham. The third, bylaw 3729, being a bylaw to assume the subdivision known as Timsdale Estates subdivision and to designate the streets as shown on registered plan 59M317 Timsdale Estates Phase 1 and 59M367 Timsdale Estates Phase 2 as public highways and to name the streets accordingly. And bylaw 3730, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement for lands located at 1525 East Street. May I have a motion to postpone or defer? Lift that item and postpone that. So moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor Durley. So let's deal with number 2 and the motion to defer that until next meeting. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Any other comments or questions to any of the other bylaws? Councillor Papp?
Just go ahead, very small, in the bylaw dealing with the subdivision agreement, it looks like there's a typo. They talked about Lucetta. Is that Lucetta Construction?
I believe it is. Which page was that, Councillor?
Well, on my screen it's 203. It starts whereas the bylaw 2477 and bylaw 2882, Corporation of the Town entered into, it says Lucetta.
Madam Clerk, is that something you can fix?
I don't think it's a big deal, but it's actually Lucetta. That's correct.
Right?
Thanks. Just,
Mr. CEO? You'll fix that?
That's correct, and we'll make a correction, Mr. Mayor.
it's no
Okay.
big deal, it's just to make sure it's correct.
Thank you. We got all the numbers correct. We better make sure the names are correct.
Right.
Thank you.
They may be
Anything
exempt.
further? There being none, I call the question on those bylaws. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We do have some items arising from a committee of the whole or the Policy and Priorities Committee. There are 2. Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Kersey. Be it resolved, the Council receives the issue summary report, student driving revision policy, and the Council adopt the revised municipally owned vehicles policy. Questions or comments? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Junkin, seconded by Councillor Durley. We seem to have 3 movers here. Be it resolved, the Council received the issue summary report regarding the adoption of a municipal tree management policy, and the Council approved the policy as submitted. Questions or comments? Council colleagues, I do have a question for the director, and that's regarding on the second page, the town shall strive for no net loss of trees on urban boulevards and where practical and viable in parks and rural areas. In addition, where conditions allow, every effort shall be made to increase the tree planting and greening in the town bearing conditions related to invasive pests or diseases. I didn't ask the director ahead of time, so I'm putting her on the spot. What does that mean, the second sentence about need to increase the tree plantings and greenings, barring conditions related to invasive pests or diseases?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was our attempt to try to acknowledge the 2-for-1. So we'll cut down one, plant two. So we committed to saying we're trying to have no net loss. So if we take down one will get replaced somewhere, hopefully within the urban boulevard. But wherever possible, especially for mass removals, we would try to even increase that and do the 2-for-1 wherever it fits, where it's viable, where the conditions are such that we can plant more than one tree.
I'm pleased to hear that, but I'm confused about the language. It says barring conditions related to invasive pests or diseases.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's in response specifically to something like ash. So when you have a mass unexpected species that has to come down like we're in the middle of, we didn't want to make that commitment there, or sometimes meeting that commitment of a mass removal because of an invasive species might not be realistic. So right now we're pulling out large amounts of ash. We're not replacing 1-for-1. We're going to try to get back on track and do large plantings in parks and trails. But sometimes the conditions aren't warranted. Sometimes the other trees are healthier without more cover from new trees. So we're trying to say we're cognizant of that, and we're trying to keep that canopy where it is, but you can't always respect it depending on what the conditions are.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm hearing is sort of a policy of a 2-for-1, whatever. There's a lot of conditions on the ground that you have to consider as you're doing that or trying to green the canopy. So I guess the piece that's important here is every effort shall be made to increase tree plantings and greenings in the town.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's it. To put the 2-for-1 in the policy, we wanted to be able to commit to it. And there are so many conditions, you don't want to start throwing all those bullets in there, except if it's this, except if it's that. So we thought instead we'll commit to something that we feel comfortable with, and the beautification committee as well, and take it from there.
Okay, thank you. I guess it's something that we haven't specifically dealt with in terms of numbers and trees and that sort of thing. So maybe as time goes on, it would be important to have updates to council about how we're trying to achieve this and meet this policy and trying to increase the greening of our community. Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarity. Anyone else on that particular bylaw? Or sorry, policy? I apologize. So the motion is to receive it and to approve as submitted. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, second by Councillor King. Be it resolved, the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Bylaw 3731, to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Pelham as regular meeting held on the 4th day of April 2016. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, this regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for Monday, April 18th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Let's take a 5-minute recess. Thank you.